Barely 2 weeks ago, Governor Babajide Sanwoolu of Lagos State marked his second year in office. In those 2 years, it will be fair to say that the governor has been confronted with a mixed bag of issues. And these have ranged from delivering on the promises that he made to Lagosians when he saw their electoral mandate in 2019, to the COVID-19 pandemic and NSAS protests, both of which threatened to derail his agenda. The challenges notwithstanding, a lot more is expected of Governor Sanwoolu as he embarks on the second half of his first term in office. Well, joining us right now is the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwoolu, to discuss the highlights and missteps of his 2-year stint in the saddle, and also on what to expect of his administration from now till 2023. Welcome to the show, Governor Babajide Sanwoolu. It's good to have you here.
Well, to know. And Ruben, thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Governor.
Such a great honor to be back here after almost 2 years or thereabout. But you guys are doing great things, you know. So I'm truly honored for you to have created a space for me to share this wonderful studio with you.
Well, thank you very much. In fact, I was surprised that you elected to come to the studio. The managing director, Ijoma Wogugu, had offered that the TVU will be sent to you in your office. But Gbenga Motosho said, no, the governor said he will come physically and personally.
No,
so I was shocked when I saw
That's
it.
important. I want to have a feel of you guys. I want to sort of like put body contact to it. Let's feel the temperature in the room. That's one. But more importantly, it's the gap that I see, you know, that 5-10 seconds hiccup. I really don't want that to happen. I want to, you know, be in a position to understand, you know, your body language and where you're coming from, and be able to also speak to issues directly. And it's also not far from where I live. So I can actually make that alterations and that requests, you know, when they ask of me that I have to come, and I said, yes, I will come down.
Okay, where are we coming from? You've been governor for 2 years. It was 2 years on May 29. You engaged Nigerians with what you call the themes agenda, right? THE, transportation, health, environment, managing security, and all of that. Now, where are we with that? There are many Nigerians who believe that perhaps COVID derailed your administration in terms of service delivery. Have you been able to manage that?
Thank you very much, Ruben, and thank you again for the answer. So really, it's been exactly 741 days, right? So 10 days, you know, into the second half of it, right? So because we count the days, we count the numbers out of 1,461. And it's important for me to do that so that spiritually too, right, you'll begin to know, you know, what the people have handed over to you, the mandate they've given to you, and how well you are keeping onto that on a daily basis, you know, on a daily basis. And so in those 741 days, what have we done? Like you said, using the team's agenda, I'll probably, you know, it will take me almost the same number of days to run everything, but I'll be very quick with it. THEMES is traffic management and transportation, is health, you know, and environment, is education and technology. The M is making Lagos a 21st century economy in housing, in infrastructure, in agriculture. The second E is entertainment and tourism. And the last is security and good governance. That's how we've broken it down. And that's what has driven, you know, the shape of our policy and our direction in the last 2 years. So speaking specifically, right, in these 2 years, we've been able to add, on the transportation sector side, about 750 new buses into the fleet of the public transportation in Lagos. We've added about 420 what we call last mile, first mile, last mile, small mini buses, 8-seaters, 10-seaters. We have also done procurement for 1,000 additional taxis, you know, that will be coming in another 1 month or two to add to it. We've procured about 22 boats, boats meaning 60 passenger, 50, 40, 30, about 22 of them in the water transportation sector. We're currently building 15 jetties. 6 of them will be handed over before the end of this year. We have started a very aggressive rail infrastructure project. We've done financial closure on the 2 rail lines, the blue line and the red line, where we've committed to seeing rail move by the last quarter of first quarter 2023. so still within the administration. So those 2 rail lines are doing a phase 1 of their deliverables. We've done to date, we've done about 61 traffic, junction improvement. Outside of the first roundabout that you see in Lekki, second roundabout, the Ajah roundabout, we've also done Allen roundabout, we've done the Kotun roundabout, and we've done, so those traffic improvements we've done is we've introduced what we call electronic traffic lights, traffic signaling, at each of those ones. You go to Maryland now, you see that there's a different improvement there. And so how we do it, we also put what we call road furniture there, signal, and put no parking, no red turn, no right turn, just to keep our people moving. So for transportation, traffic management and transport, we see that we need to be able to move our people, in a predictable manner, right, quicker and faster. And so we've been an engine of activity in that whole sector. If I talk on road infrastructure, which is also what is driving, for traffic management, what we're saying is we want to have an integrated mass transportation system using the BRT, which is the road infrastructure, using the waterways, which by the way, we have about 1/3 of the size of Lagos State now in water. Use waterways infrastructure and use the rail infrastructure. Of the 3, right, which we believe are going concurrently, is the rail that we have not finally signed off on. But before the end of this administration, like I said, we will sign off, on the waterways. We're doing that already. We're actually building a command and control for the waterways. We're building, 15 jetties, like I said. We're doing water navigational system. We're dredging to ensure that, we can put security on water. We can actually also have a thorough, channelization for all of our boat operators. And we're also buying safety equipment. We're not just buying ordinary balls. We're buying an equipment. It's like your table right here, and it could be drawn electronically. Once you drop into water, it can move, with a signal. They have a remote, and it can go up to 1 kilometer, go rescue somebody in the water and bring the person back. The person will just walk in and stay, and it hits onto the person. It's such an incredible one. So on waterways, we're doing all of that. On health and environment, COVID was around. We'll talk more about COVID. But in terms of specifics, right, we're building 3 new hospitals where we've done extensive improvement in 6 others, in Ebute Metta, in Lagos Island General Hospital, in Isolo, in Harvey Road, in Ketu Ejirin. We're building a new one. We're building a new one in Ojo. In terms of capacity development, because that became very important last year. We've employed, or we're still recruiting more doctors, more nurses, more health frontline workers. We continue to retrain and train them, given all of the things that also came out last year. So all of that we're doing, we're meeting all of their needs, if I might use those words. So in health, whilst we're keeping our staff, frontline workers now, whilst we're keeping them well taken care of, we're also increasing the infrastructure there. So that's why I said we're building 3 new hospitals, outside of even the new Mercy Children's Hospital that we just we're doing as well, not too far off from here. So infrastructure is critical for us. We're also planning to build what we call an African Infectious Disease Center as a response to the pandemic. We also want to have our own R&D capacity so that in future we also can see, like the serum, we can have vaccine being produced in Nigeria, in Lagos, and we'll have a space for that. We've actually signed an MOU, and so that capacity is also being developed all around, the health space. In environment, we're cleaning up. We've bought, 100 new compactors, 40 of them are in the system right now as we speak, right? And I think additional 56 are the ports. We've done about 150 dyno beams. Dyno beams are the massive ones that you put in various markets. We've increased the PSP turnaround at our various dump sites. We've increased it from a trip of about 370 to about 640, meaning that, they're clearing a lot more refuse off the street than they used to do. Lagos generates over 10,000 metric tons of waste every day. So that's also a lot of waste that is being generated. Waste to wealth, people talk about it. There's still a lot of conversation around who it's ready. We've done waste to fertilizer. It hasn't done very well. People have said to us they want to do waste to power. We're waiting for people to bring the right investment, to be able to do it. So on education, we've built additional about 450 new classrooms. We've taught over 1,000 public schools, either primary school or secondary school, either with a new classroom, a wall that we've improved upon, new hostels that we've built for model school. Sorry, for model schools, or a tower building that we've put in there. So meaning that in 2 years, about 1,000 schools have been taught, 450 new classrooms. We've added about 120,000 benches and tables. We've recruited about 3,000 new teachers also within that space. We are currently, because education and technology is linked together. For our technology, we're doing what we call the metropolitan fiber optics, which is we're deploying 3,000 kilometers of fiber in Lagos. We've done about 1,800 of that right now, meaning we're building the ducts, not only for us, but also for the telcos. 6 ducts, 1 for Lagos State, 5 others for other telco operators to have fiber. So we're building the infrastructure. It's like a road before the vehicle can move on it. So that's the architecture of the infrastructure for fiber. So we're doing that. And as we're doing it, we're dropping the fiber capability in our schools. They will be in most of our schools. Right now, they're in 100. 100 meaning that, not that when you go there, you see it immediately, but 100 such that we're also building computers. We're trying to buy, the needed off-grid power, maybe solar panels, and things that can help, once the fiber is connected, the schools will be live, and working. So we're doing that all in education. We have what we call the Eco Excel, which is an handheld, tablets that our teachers are doing. We've trained over 17,000 teachers in that space. So they all have an handheld, like a tablet, in which at the primary school level, they all have the same curriculum, right? In respect of what school you are. On a Monday morning what should be the curriculum of year 4, primary 4 pupils in the school. So all of them can indeed have the same measurement of output and outcomes with those kids. And we're doing that, with a company, a local company that we've seen them, drive those capacity in other part of the country. So we're working with them. We've added to date about 80,000, handheld radio or tablets to our kids. Some are donation with some of our partners, some we're buying, directly. Because during COVID, that kids couldn't go to school. They needed to have other means of having contact with their teachers or learning, and so we're doing that, and we're wrapping those numbers up, So in technology itself, outside of the 1,800 that has been delivered on the fiber infrastructure, we're building what we call a smart city model. A smart city meaning that we're using that infrastructure to develop a resilient Lagos. So CCTV camera, we're meant to be doing 2,000. To date, we've done 150 because it was a contract that was signed sometime last year. So we have 150 cameras that are live as we speak. Right before the end of the year, maybe they will get about 800.
Well, Governor Sanwoolu, I think at this point, you said a lot about what you have done. I thought you just wanted to go through the themes. Well, but at this point, we need to interrogate some of the points you have made.
Absolutely.
So Tundu, over to you. Put the governor on the hot seat.
You know it. No, actually, all of that in spite of a global pandemic. So how much of a challenge has the COVID-19 pandemic been? And I expect that Lagosians will take some encouragement from the fact that you're here in person, which would have been impossible a short while ago.
Well, yeah, that's it. And that's why, without sense of modesty, we've put together a team that has actually rescued this country. And if I may dare say so, less than 15 months, or about 15 months ago, when the first incident case happened, which was on February 27th, right, Lagos has indeed risen up to that challenge. One, because maybe our prior experience around Ebola that had happened 4 years, prior to that time, we had started developing capacity, and capability in terms of understanding, infectious diseases and how we need to respond. So we're lucky that we also have a team on ground to be able to take up that challenge. And I gave them all of the resource and encouragement to do it. I was leading as the incident commander So what were the challenges? The challenges were that we all couldn't do what we're used to doing. And so we had to shut down, a lot of our facilities, economy, and rest of it. But we responded very quickly because we used data to also drive some of our thought process. And our people also helped because the training at that time was very intense for people to understand what is required for them to be able to handle pandemic, as it turns out. But in terms of specifics, what did we do? We're able to very quickly do the really regular three things that we're talking about: tracing, tracking, and testing, right? We wrapped up testing aggressively. We're the very first that had 2-3 PCR, testing center. To date, I think Lagos has about 27, different, both private and public, testing capability in terms of labs in which you can actually do a PCR test. Lagos conducted well over 55% of the national testing, numbers, and we were also able, to aggressively scale up, isolation. We've got support from a lot of the private sector, and we're able to wrap up developing isolation center. We're able to block about 15 hotels at that time, right, so that people can go in there, do treatment for them and get well. COVID had different things for different people. For our government, it slowed down our budget. It slowed down our revenue capability. We had to also reduce, all of our spend in other areas. But what it has also done for the nation is that we didn't have the number of fatality as recorded in some other parts of the world. And for that, Nigeria, for example, is not on the red zone in any country, globally. I'm thankful to that. And we continue to also learn, the various new variants that are coming in on COVID, right? There's been several new variants that the PCR machines that we're using might not be able to specifically pick the variant now. So just about a month ago, we had to do another investment of about 800 million to buy new machines, right, that can indeed go to the specificity and pick the exact variant, of the COVID, where it's coming from. Is it UK? Is it India? Is it Brazil? Is it Turkey? And so we can also dimension it and know what kind of treatment you need to have, for that. So in all, it's been, we've been lucky, we've been very proactive, and we've been able to manage, the outcome. Right now, we have less than 1% positivity, less than. Some days it's 0.3%. We're still testing, by the way. We still do average about 2,000, 2,500 tests every day. So, but you see the positivity maybe like 15, maybe like 10, maybe like, so we're still monitoring it. And we also have hotels. Anybody coming from the red country, well, we push them into, compulsory isolation, either in our own facility, right, or in an hotel that we've profiled that they can just stay there, and do the test on day 2 and day 5, and on day 7 they can exit if they found them, clear. So that protocol is still ongoing, and we're not dropping the ball at all. But we're lucky because after the second wave, we've been able to sort of like flatten the curve extensively. And I believe that we are getting out of it gradually, right? And but we still don't want to be careless, about anything. It's still ravaging in other parts of the world, right? So it's been a strong learning, experience for us. It shut us down a little bit, but it also helped us to be a bit more creative. Creativity in the area around, maybe virtual cabinet meeting. We're the first, not only in the country, also in some other part of the world, that started virtual cabinet meeting, and we're still able to run government, virtually, right, and still keep ourselves and our families safe, whilst doing that. And in all of it, I think we should not lose, a crisis. We should not lose the benefit of an outcome of a crisis. And so for me, that's why I mentioned earlier that we're planning to also develop an African Infectious Disease Center, which we're going to build in IDA, by the way, right, where there'll be another pandemic. Maybe, I don't know when, but when one comes up, Lagos or Nigeria should also be able to have a seat, in the game in terms of research, in terms of development, in terms of vaccine, or whatever it is will be, the prognosis at that time. So we're making like Lagos should indeed be able to respond and ready for an eventual pandemic, if one or when one do happen.
Well, Governor, thank you very much. We've been able to lay a background. Now we begin to interrogate some of the issues that you yourself have raised. And I would like to ask our colleague, Rufai Oseni, to comment at this point.
All right. Pleasure to have you, Excellency. Congratulations on your 2 years. A lot of work being done. But I'd like to ask you, Your Excellency, you're doing a lot of projects. How are you paying for them? What's the state of debts in the states? You know, you're doing so much. COVID-19 has dealt all of us a blow. I'm sure the state will have incurred a lot of debts because of COVID-19 as other people are incurring. How are you paying for all these debts? And have all the finances been balanced as regards COVID-19, the allowances for some people, because I still hear a lot of complaints, have they paid them out and things like that? And Your Excellency, sir, although a lot of people have denied it in security quarters, but it's happening, Your Excellency. I've had 2 people tell me personally, Your Excellency, sir, they are kidnapping people covertly in Lekki, in Lagos. There have been cases of kidnapping, and it's out there. What are we doing as regards to security and this Okada ban in Lagos? Because security is priority. But I can put it to you, sir, Your Excellency, it's not just hearsay. People are being kidnapped covertly around parts of Lagos. Those 2 questions, sir.
Well, there are more than 2, Rufai, and thank you very much. There are about 6 questions in all, right? And each one of them can actually take a whole piece, right? So you've asked, how are we funding all of the things I've mentioned? Are the books balanced? Yes, the books are balanced. It's creativity, right? It's understanding what you need to do, and you need to set your priorities, clear. If you look at the level of borrowing of Lagos, if you look debt to GDP ratio, it's still one of the lowest in the world. It's certainly even the lowest in sub-Saharan Africa, right? If you look at our GDP and look at the debt profile that we have, if you look at our sustainability, ability and capacity to be able to generate, revenue, right? The best in the country, and we're the ones that are most resilient to be able to hold on to shock. So we cannot sit back and not take the full benefit or some benefit of that capability. People sweat their balance sheet. You sweat it, you drive it, because for every day you procrastinate, you wait, right? Things go up. Foreign currency, exchange, you've seen it, and your cost of doing business continue to rise. So deal with whatever you need to deal with, right? Do it responsibly, do it with a lot of creativity. So we're balancing our books, and we've been able to raise finance. We have the biggest budget in the country outside of federal government, $1 trillion, right? And we believe that with the way that we're working, we should be able to. In fact, we believe we can do a lot more if we can generate much more money. So the capacity is there. We have the ability to be able to run our budget. Last year, we did over 90% of our budget, even in the pandemic. So we're not just, here saying it. We're doing specifics, and these are things that you can go check. In terms of infrastructure, we're doing infrastructure in almost every local government, we have in this state. Almost every local. Right beside you here, we're on Thompson, we're on McPherson, we're on Alati Jakonde, we're moving to Cooper, we're moving to Queens Drive, we're doing Milverton, we've completed. If we go to Victoria Land, we're on Adeyemo Alakija, we're on Adeola Hopewell. I can go on and on. If you go to Ojo, we're in Buba Marwa, we're in Old Ojo, Navy Road. If you go to Ekpe, right, we're doing from Eleko Junction to Ekpe town, 18 kilometers, 6 lanes, rigid pavement. If you go to Badagry, we're in Hospital Road. We're in Fada Obadino in Ijora. So talk to anywhere. We're in Alimosho. We're doing a bridge called Okolonyu. Maybe Ben, Ruben will know where that is, because he's a grassroots man. Okolonyu is a wooden bridge that we needed to cross. We're moving communities together. Right? And so we're building all of that together. Rufai also asked, the question around if our books on COVID are balanced, allowances have been paid. Yes, Rufai, I'll tell you, we're not owing any one person on COVID. In fact, I still paid allowance till May, for frontline health workers that will have doing, the tough work on COVID till May. And these are things that you can go check out. So we're balancing our books, and we've had tremendous support from on the private sector side and from our own clear balance sheet. And we'll continue to take responsibility, for that. What we spent, goes to the House of Assembly, goes to the Auditor General's office, and it's transparently, being put forward for them to see it. You've also talked about security. I will not sit here, and gloss over and say that is not happening. These are very serious times, and these are very, very serious issues that we all need to take frontally, right? I listened to programs in your station and other stations in the last 48, 72 hours. I know, and these are things that have been gathering a lot of storm. Right, yes, in Lagos, there have been incidents that we've had, right? And part of the strategy is that all of us need to speak up, see something, say something. It's really around everybody understanding who is in your neighborhood. You know, who are the people, who are the strangers that you are seeing, you know, around you. Simple security tip, you know, you're in the traffic, roll up your glass if you have to, right? I mean, make sure that you are not standing by the street side and holding a phone and talking, you know, without being security conscious. You know, these are just very simple tips, you know, that you don't enter a strange vehicle, right? The kind of questions the kind of response that we've gotten, people have gone on painted, you know, vehicles that they cannot even know who they are, and they just hop in on free ride. You don't do that, you know. But what is government's response to that? We need to look at what are the capability that we have. We have structural issues, infrastructural issues. I'm not going to gag you and say that we don't have it.
We're going to dwell on infrastructure.
I want to talk on infrastructure even for security. And that's one of the reasons why we're building, you know, the cameras that we're building. That's one of the reasons why we're supporting, you know, the police formation that we have. That's one of the reasons why we're still increasing the number of our recruits on our neighborhood watch, so that local intelligence can be granular. There are things that we can speak to and people can bring them.
That's where we're going next. We'll talk about infrastructure. What you are doing about the Fourth Mainland Bridge, the coastal roads, the blue line, the rail line, the promised metro line. But before then, let's deal with some urgent matters. The first is this ban on Twitter. Suspension of Twitter. The major technical hub in Nigeria is Lagos. And recently at the Igbeti, summit, technology was a major issue for the Lagos state government. And here you are, on top of your head, your party, your federal government has banned Twitter. In your state, where you have most of the young people who are entrepreneurs on social media. What's your opinion about that? That's one. Two, security. You've talked about security. Now, you attended all the meetings in the South, in the Southwest about security. You were part of the Amotekun process. But Lagos State is yet to launch Amotekun. So why don't we have an Amotekun squad in Lagos? Is that because you don't believe in the idea and you just played along?
Thank you. So that all the questions together. Whilst I would not want to unnecessarily join issues around the Twitter, just last week, right, I was on a fact-finding tour of some of our tech hubs in Lagos, right? Flutterwaves, Impact Hub, Venia Hub. We went around to encourage, our great, youth entrepreneurs that are in that space, and we'll continue to support them. We have, a Lagos Science and Research Fund that we're granting people, support, grants, 20 million, 10 million, 5 million. We did over 250 million last year. Grants to tech startups, and some of them are becoming patent now. So as a government, deliberately, we have our skin in the game. We're giving them support. We're giving them, vouchers for them to go to a hub and sit for 30 days, for 60 days, and just run the place free. So in terms of interventions in that space, we're in support. We're going to build the biggest tech campus, in the country. But regarding the specifics around Twitter, right, I cannot sit down here with all of the responsibility that I have, and fly the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. He would have the prognosis and the security information that I do not have, right? And I cannot begin to say that what is done is right or what is wrong, what is done is wrong. What I see is that on both sides, right, there are issues that can be resolved, both on the Twitter, right, and also with our government. And I think what they've done is not a ban, it's a suspension, like they've said. Right, so in the period of suspension, let us sit down. If we have 40 million users of that microblogger, and in another country you have 5 million, and they chose to take their investment to a country that has 5 million as compared to a company that have 40 million, right? It speaks to the reason why we also need to have that conversation with them and see, so that even if they have an officer, things will have been done a lot quicker and better because, hey, Tunu, come in. What is going on here? Why will we do this? Why will we do this? And so they can't see things from everybody's point of view. In other clans, they sign some underlining, agreement before on the rules of engagement. I'm not sure that is happening here. But having said that, right, federal government can handle this a lot better, Because, like you said, the number of e-commerce, the number of youth that are doing a lot of digital stuff on the internet, and we cannot throw that away and say it's not happening. So I believe that there's a lot of restraint. There could be a lot of better management from both sides. And what I'm going to plead with in the next 1 or 2 days, let us see that happen, right? Let's all come together and resolve this. Lagos is hurting, our youth are hurting, Nigeria is hurting, right? And let's just understand, what are the issues and be able to get it all behind us. And so that we don't politicize it and we don't make it so easy or so cheap. Like you said, people are losing money, people are losing businesses, and economics are being destroyed this way. So, but there are also security issues, right? I mean, that's what Rufai was asking about. So the question we'll ask is, what are the rules? How do we engage? What happens here is different from what also could happen elsewhere, in another part of the country, in another part of the world. But let us be circumspect. Let us not just throw the baby and the bathwater away and just, say that everything and anything that the federal government has said is bad or what Twitter is doing is wrong. Let us sit down and I'm ready to sit in if I'm called upon to give quality advice on what I think should be done.
When are we going to have the Lagos wing of Amotekun? No, yeah. Because Tundu may just be interested in joining.
Absolutely.
Rufai will make a good Amotekun.
I can see he has all of the 6 packs to do it. But this is it, Ruben. I was in the committee where we're together in Southwest when we took a decision on Amotekun, and I supported the full bill. But this was what it is. They said we're doing it because of the experience of Lagos. And what is the experience of Lagos? Lagos currently have what we call the neighborhood watch. The concept of Amotekun is to go into the bush and deal with our border patrol, right? And what border do Lagos have? Atlantic Ocean and Ogun State. Where the borderless border between Lagos and Ogun. You want to go to Bega where you don't even know where Lagos or Ogun enter. So what I'm saying is that we all need to think out of the box and look at the local solution that is peculiar to every state. It's not just in a fanciful name of Amotekun. It's in the quality of what are we seeking to achieve. So my colleagues actually agreed with me that indeed Lagos, you have 6,500 strong people in neighborhood watch, which you started years before. Strengthen it. Let us collaborate. It's all about intelligence gathering. It's all about ensuring that they have boots on the ground. They can go into various communities and they can bring intelligence and information back to the table for the real security operatives to be able to deal with. And that's what we're doing. And guess what? In our neighborhood watch, we gave 1,250 to the Nigerian police to support their community policing. Free. I'm still paying their salary, 1,250. So I need to go back and recruit. And that's why Rufai can be interested here. Right? I'm still going to recruit another 1,500 back into that and strengthen them. What are they meant to be doing?
People with 6 packs.
They certainly, you could see them.
I don't qualify for that.
No, well, I mean, I can see. So so really, it's very serious. And while we're doing it, we're going to the community, we're talking to the traditional ruler, give us men in your local community. Go to local government chairman, give us men who knows the community, who have intelligence. And just 2 days ago, they gave me a full compendium of abandoned building by Neighborhood Watch, about 250 pages. Of abandoned with addresses. Number 22, Ruben Abati Street. This is what it is. It's a 1-story building. It's built, and with pictures for us to see. These are where the miscreants and so we're passing this on to real to the real security architecture that we have, and that takes us to state police. All of these things are because we have not agreed as a nation that we should have state police. We've been an advocate. These are some of the things that we mentioned at the Constitution Amendment committees that held last week and the week, before, Senate and House. I was very vocal and said that it's a force that its time has come. In Amotekun, in Neighborhood Watch, these are all reflections of state police. I've got 6,000 of them. If you turn that into, and they are properly trained and kit with body camera, by the way, it will be stronger. And all the challenges around kidnapping and the little things that we're talking about will be things that we can nib in the bud. And we use technology to also enable. We're building CCTV camera, like I said. We're building a command and control center, like I said. We have live cameras. We have live feed, right? But as chief security officer, there's a limit to which you have. The IG is coming to Lagos in 2 days' time, and these are conversations that we need to sit together and solve. The men on the ground are not enough. What are you doing? And so not until when Nigeria, as a country, right, we sit down and said, time is ripe for us to have state police. Look at your resources, look at your challenge. I have a lot of challenge. So my challenge is not having, forest. I don't. My challenge is more around cultism, right, that I need to be able to deal with. So I need to think global but act locally and see what are the peculiarities of, robbery in traffic. How do I solve that?
You need to be free to act locally. I mean, look at the situation we have in Niger State with the abduction of the children in Virginia and the helplessness or seeming helplessness of the Niger State governor. What's your reaction to that? Which leads me to the burning issue du jour: restructuring, federalism, and secession. This bloodbath that recently occurred in Igongo, the next thing we're going to hear is even louder calls for the Yoruba nation. Where do you stand on all these issues?
Well, Tunu, first let me say, I said off camera, I was moved because you also moved emotional on Friday. And it's rightly so, we're all human. Nobody will sit back and listen to what the parents were saying, how seemingly helpless, they are, and one will not be moved. These are 5, 8, 9-year-old kids. And it's really rather very unfortunate, right? And I hope that, something is being done in that part of the country. But you've raised, very, very serious issues around how do we want to be conversing as Nigerians going forward. We've talked about it. Let's stop this talk. Let's just act, right? So the constitutional amendment, first let's congratulate, commend the leadership of the National Assembly. Let's just hope that they will take this commendation and this bold step, they will take it to a logical conclusion, right? We've talked about federalism. What is fiscal federalism? It's all around, this is what you're earning, this is what is coming to you. Federal government is really just too big. Let's say it. They've got over 1,800 agencies. A minister has 240 agencies under it. It's big. And they really don't have, a state. It's still federal. You cannot come into my state, right, and say you have, secondary school or primary. It's still under, subnational. It has to be seen that we're bringing it down like that. So that's what we're asking. Let us know what the subnationals can deal with. They are closer to the people. The local government, the state government, they are closer to the people. Let them be able to deal with these issues, right? Deal with, things that is uniting all of us. Foreign affairs, internal or external security. Let's do it, right? We're talking around separatists. I certainly cannot. I have only one passport, by the way, right? So there's no way. Maybe Tunu has more than one, right? But I know this old man has only one. So we're here. We cannot continue to gloss over, right, and talk about want to break away or want to. Even in any breakaway, we'll start and end on a table. So let's create that table and let's start talking, amongst ourselves. If we understand and appreciate that, yes, right, there are different strengths in the room. Let's share. Let's equity come into play. Let's fairness come into play, right? Let's understand what are the things you have that is bothering. What are the things that you don't have that you want to have? And let's be able to resolve it. It's not by, saying you want to go at Oduduwa Nation. When you come, they will now realize that, even Egba and Ijebu and Ikiti, and they also further want something to break. They will never see, an end to that. Because you see that every clan and every race would also want something. That's where it's difficult. So if we all come to, there's strength in number. Let us utilize that strength, and be able to work for all of us. Is when it's not working and it's a perceived, maybe nepotism or something that's where people, agitating. So if we're fair amongst ourselves and we can indeed have a seat for everyone, a seat for everyone, and let's hear everybody's view. Honestly, we can take this country forward and we should be able to. So I'm really not around, cheap talk. Nobody wants a war. You never know how a war turns out. You shouldn't, ask for one. It's important for us to know that who's going to take us? 200 million? Where? Please, let's be sincere and be real with ourselves. Yes, we have issues. There is absolutely no doubt about that.
Well, Governor Sanwoolu, the way this conversation is going, it's like we can have it for the whole day. But let me call on Rufai. Rufai.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abati. Once again, Governor, I'd like to know the debt profile of the state, the numbers. Secondly, Governor, Lagos tram line started in 1912 that went through the Kokomaiko corridor up to Ido. But as of 2021, no single metro working in Lagos. I want to know the timeline and where it will be completed so that it can ease congestion. Thirdly, there's this debate going on about pension for former governors in the state. Your Excellency, when you leave, would you still like to collect a pension from the state? Or would you push, with the State House to stop pensions for former governors? Those three questions, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Rufai. So the debt burden of the state, I will not sit down and tell you I have the exact number. But I know that the foreign debt is in huge numbers. And maybe over $450 million or something. And this is broken down largely with multilateral borrowing, World Bank borrowing for water and a few other things. For local debt, which is the local bonds, and borrowing from interbank and all of it, today I think we are around 260 billion, I think. And so we have some maturity, that are coming up later in the year, and we're doing everything to ensure that on our debt service repayment account, we even have over-provided, for all of these repayments. And so, like I said, in terms of sustainability, we're the most sustained in terms of debt in this state, in this country today. Our state is the most resilient in terms of debt sustainability, as we speak. And this is something that we can check up with debt management office in Abuja. So we're there. But we're not even stretched out even the space that we have. If you look at your fiscal space, like I said, how it's being checked everywhere in the world is your debt to GDP ratio. In Lagos, I think it's still under 12 or 13%. In some other clumps, they are doing 20, 18, 22%. Right? So we still have a lot of headroom if we do choose, but we're not reckless about that. We're trying to, take it as a little piece and go on. Regarding the rail, Rufai, I know you're a student of history, you read a lot. Thank you for those numbers. 1912 is such a long time. So, but where are we today? We've given commitments on that same rail corridor, which is the red line, which we started last year. And we said that we're going to build, the red line. What has delayed us, to be honest with you, it's all this issue still around federalism. I was in government over 10 years ago when we wanted to start the rail project, right? And the easiest corridor is the corridor Rufai talked about, which is the Butemeta, Yaba, and straight down to Agege. But the federal government at that time refused to give us, the right of way, meaning that we're saying we just want that rail corridor. It's a right of, because Lagos is also getting built up every year. So to get the right of way, it's a difficult thing because you have to do a lot of demolition and all of it. So we couldn't get it. That was why we now moved to the Lagos-Badagry Expressway, which is where we're doing the blue line, right? Now we're back on the red line, which is still the old track that Rufai talked about. And we've started, right? We're building, if you go to Butemeta Junction now, which is by old Apapa Road, you see that we're actually doing, a flyover there. We're doing a flyover. We're building 8 brand new stations. And these are live that are ongoing. Anybody can call in and check. The sites have contractors working there, the excavation going on. We're building 4 overpasses. We're going to build an overpass, vehicular overpass at in Butemeta by Apapa Road. We're building one in Yaba. We're building another one in Ikeja, by the local government. I'm building a 5th one, I think it's Jonathan Coker at Iju. Federal government is also meant to build 3 overpasses. Overpasses meaning the vehicle overpass so that the train can go underneath. So it's all good. And we've awarded the contract for all the terminals, from Butemeta to Yaba to Mushin to Ikeja to Agege to Iju. All of these stations have been awarded contract for the development. In fact, next week I'll be going on tour there because I'm commissioning the bus terminal at Yaba. And you see the excavation there. The people can dial in and check. These are not things that we're just talking. These are live sites that things are going. So Rufai, you will see the rail come up. Similar for the blue line, which we've started, right? It's from Mile 2 on the Lagos west side. It's from Mile 2 to Alaba, to Relay, to National Arts Theatre, and finally to Marina. If you go to Marina now, the excavation is out there. You know, the pillars are out, and we'll begin to put the long spans on top of it. And so it's coming. The infrastructure is the backbone that needs to, you know, that one is more expensive because it takes elevated from Relay. There's no way it cannot go on the ground. So it has to be like a bridge, and that's the bridge that you see. And we're building it, and we're pushing it, you know, there. So we're on track, you know, with it. And I think there's a third question around pension that Rufai asked. Rufai, if you've been following me, last year I did, is the word promulgate now, or I did repeal the law given pension to former excellencies and governor in Lagos State. And we're well celebrated and commended, you know, for that. Meaning that, you know, going forward, there is no need for any pension. And so, Rufai, don't be worried about anything. I'm not going to be earning any pension. I will join Dr. Ruben Abati in consulting, and I'll become a public speaker, and I'll begin to earn decent revenue, you know, to be able to keep my family, you know, after this job.
Well, on the question of the pension for retired governors, that issue came up recently. You may have held the position that you think is something that should be reconsidered. But members of the Lagos State House of Assembly do not think so when they consider that bill. You proposed that bill. It was an executive bill, I think in December 2020. It has gone past second reading, and there's been a debate, but the lawmakers in Lagos State think that the pension should still be should still be paid. So, however, this conversation, we seem to have reached a turning point, because my phone here is inundated with comments from viewers, all of them stakeholders in Lagos State, and they are saying we are not grilling you enough, and they have their own questions. So I would just like to read out some of those questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, here, somebody says, how do you intend to deal with the Apapa Ijora gridlock, which has been a major issue? Some parts of, sorry, I use glasses. It looks like the glasses are not working as effectively anymore, but I'll try. Some parts of Marine Bridge and Echo Bridge are blocked for maintenance purpose. Why not one at a time? Because this is causing a lot of gridlock. 3, the bus terminal to Oshodi. Why has it been abandoned? No continuity from the past government. Moreover, some parts of the road from Oshodi to Abule Egba are too narrow, causing crazy gridlock coupled with the potholes at Ikeja along, and indiscriminate parking of the commercial bus on the road obstructing moving vehicles. Okay, finally, Shubuari banned Twitter. I think you already did.
Thank you.
But these other 3 issues.
So 2 days ago, on Saturday to be specific, I had an extensive meeting, you know, on Apapa gridlock. NPA, most of the major manufacturing terminal operators were in the meeting, security operatives, and we removed our shirt and we had, you know, a tough 4-hour session amongst ourselves. What are the issues? And it was I won't say it was a campaign promise, but was an operational promise that I committed to resolve. Okay, so what we have now is we have what we call an e-collop system. An e-collop system where trailers, you know, and tankers, well, not tankers, trailers, container trailers, are meant to stay at designated trailer parks, not around the Apapa area. There's 7 of them in Ijora, in Ojota, you know, in Surulere, Erikmo area, Igomu area. They are not meant to stay. The closest should be Lilipon. Lilipon is before you descend into Mobile Road. They are meant to stay there, and there's an electronic call-up that will now, because they've registered, is an online portal. They will now be call-up. The call-up is induced by Apapa port, for example. The operator will say that today, 7th of June, I need 200 trailers to come into the port, right? So they give that to the concessionaire, and he calls up based on the last in, first out model. Last in, first out model. Is it last in? Anyway, he calls onto the trucks and they start heading down. So they have a time in which they come in. But this is the problem. So the problem is we realize that people Nigerians. People have started even compromising, that e-call-up system, because it's meant to have a URL code, supposed to be, so when you get to the port, it's supposed to be scanned and supposed to be a boom, and you're supposed to go in. But two issues now arose. Sometimes when the terminal operators, the people they own it's not MPA, it's not the terminal. MPA has concessioned it to different terminal operators. They have about 6, 7 terminal operators in Tinkan, in Apapa, in ENL, several names. So the terminal operators are the ones running the port. The guy has requested for 200, but unfortunately, he doesn't have space to take 200 inside of his premises. Or he has requested for 200, he doesn't know what those 200 are coming to do. Maybe they are coming to drop empty containers, or they are coming to pick, consignments that are in the port. So that's some of the issues that we realize. So the person gets to the gate and he realizes that, no, you shouldn't have come, right? Because they express, request of what exactly they require. It's not there. That's number one. The second problem also is that they will now say, okay, so you're a container for Costco. However, the space for Costco in our terminal is full. It's only Maersk that we can take, because it's only the space for Maersk or ENL that is available. So, but the person has gotten on the road is gotten to the front of the terminal, so of the port before they now, and the guy will not want to go back. So these are operational issues that MPA and its operators and its concessionaires need to go and fix. So this is how I got to know this. That's one. Secondly, is also the issue around the road, right? The federal government were doing the Sunrise area of Apapa, right? That's the part that it's still causing a lot of gridlock. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of bribery going on there. What we hear is overnight, both the workers of the contractor, but the police, MPA staff, they remove the barrier from that road, because that road is being constructed, right? They will remove the barrier at night from that road, and they will now allow 100 trucks. When you wake up 7 o'clock in the morning, you just see 100 trucks from, you don't know from where, and they've not been asked to come, and they've blocked the road. So we've also identified that, and we said that we're going to not only report to the IG to change all the police that are there, we've also asked MPA, they need to make examples. Examples meaning, forget civil service rule, fire some people. That's the only way these things, people can't get to do this thing. That's also my instructions to them on Saturday. Just dismiss some people, and be able to do MD. That's what you have, that's the call you have to make. If I get a last mile officer that gets compromised and still, we see some on social media, the following day they're out. It's not, they don't even negotiate it. It's out, it's been recorded, you've collected bribe. There's no two-way about it. Do the same thing. Let's set a very strong signal. Secondly, the third and the major one is that Apapa Port, as currently is, has been overstretched. It was built several decades ago. We should, as a government, as a people, 10 years ago, had planned to have another port. We're doing that right now because we're building the Lekki port, right? And later maybe the Badagry port. Because the level of imports into the country vis-a-vis the size are outstrip it, right? So there's a pressure there. And the final problem is the trailer, which we call the tanker drivers. All of the things I've enumerated are just the container drivers. In the e-call-up, in the containers entering the port, how about the tanker drivers who are bringing PMS? The same Apapa is where you have about 65 to 70% of the total imports into this country comes into. 65 to 70% of the total going to different parts of the country. It's from there. So you see 2,000-3,000 trailers, meaning PMS, AGO trailers, trying to get into Apapa as well. And by the way, if you say to them, obey the simple rules, the next thing is they want to go on strike. Because nobody wants to hear about a no-pay strike. Nobody wants to hear about a trailer driver, a tanker driver strike. So that's the challenge that the burden they've given to us. But we said we will have the conversation. You cannot all be a law unto yourself. We need to solve this problem. If you have a terminal, meaning a PMS or an AGO terminal, you also must have enough room to be able to pack your 50 or your 100 or your 200 trailers inside your facility. If you don't have, you cannot bring them into their Apapa premises.
Well, Governor, can
so I'm explaining all of that so that people can understand.
Can move on to some of the other issues because
I have more viewer questions.
So the road is ongoing. the approach to Alaka, right? If we don't fix it, they can also, we have to do it. Is for 6 weeks, we've closed towards Alaka, inward to Alaka. We have to fix the bridge. They've been on fix for a very, very long time. We have to do it. And I think was a final question from that.
The bus terminal at Oshodi. Why has it been abandoned?
It's not abandoned, Ruben. It is not abandoned. They're using it. We've given it to a concessionaire. Right, we just don't want to throw everything in. We've commissioned it. We've handed it over. Buses are inside there. It's supposed to be an integrated intra-city and intercity hub. People coming in. So we're still having conversations with all of the big transport operators that are coming into Lagos. They still don't want to use the place. They want to use the same Jibowu. They want to use the same Ojota, where they go to, which is their own. And we said, no, we have a central park. Right, you guys can go in there. It has enough headroom to take, articulated, to take luxurious buses. It has enough headroom. Go in there and park, and you can take your passengers out of the place. It's there. It's working. The concessionaire is running the place.
We have 1 minute. I'm going to try and squeeze in 2 questions from our viewers. Please ask the governor when he's going to effect the ban of Okada for security reasons. Yeah. Also, Acme Road gridlock. And can the governor explain why entire Lagos neighborhoods, including Alausa, are in darkness at night? What happened to the Light Up Lagos initiative?
Okay, thank you. So let's be very creative here. So Okada ban. So there have been several issues around it. I had made pronouncement and said that what we'll do is we'll do a gradual and phased ban, right? There's an economics to it, right? But for security reasons, yes, you're right. We're looking at it. But one of the things that people have said to us, provide alternatives to know. Provide alternatives. There are people that are, yes, a lot of them are giving us headache, but there's some that are, that's how they also they're living. So we need to provide alternative even for the Okada users. And that's why we've gone the model of the first mile, last mile buses. We launched this 2 weeks ago. We have over 400 mini buses. We're planning to get it to 5,000, sometime next year. But we said to ourselves, let them also see how these first mile, last mile buses would work, so that people will know where their pickup and their drop-off point is. Like I said, we've bought more buses, in the last 2 years than we've done in several decades, right? So all of the alternatives are being provided. And we're saying to people, let's walk in. This is my cowrie card, before I forget. So this cowrie card is meant to also have a transport solution where both the last mile buses, the BRT buses, once you have it, you can also hop in and hop out onto it. Similar with the waterways. They're also installing the machine inside, so it'll be one stop. So the ban that you will see, or the phased ban, we have a ban right now, right, in 5 local governments, right. The enforcement is an issue, right. The enforcement is also an issue of almost every day I pick an Okada on the road that is taking one way. Almost every day. It's standard. If I see you, I impound your Okada and that's it, right? But enforcement is one thing that we need to be able to hide on. But the association too has come and said that, you know what, we agree with you that there's a lot of our members that do not fit the bill. Let us sit down and see how we do a managed regulation in some specific areas, which will include, biometric, analysis of them, wearing reflective jackets that are personalized and numbered, registration of the Okada themselves and having crash helmet and all. So we're having all that conversation and we're seeing if an hybrid model can be used in some areas. But more importantly is the alternative that we're pushing for people to understand the last mile, first mile, before we have a total ban in some areas that we believe they don't fit into our transportation, master plan. So all of that is going on, and we're doing it.
Well, Governor Sanwoolu, on that note, we would like to thank you very much for joining us. So many other questions.
So many.
I mean, viewers, they practically took over the interview, sending in questions in the second half. I would have loved to ask you about your deal with Ogun State. The memorandum of understanding.
It's fantastic.
But unfortunately, we don't have much
It's fantastic. Tunu will be excited about that. It's fantastic because we believe, like I said, that's the only neighbor we have, apart from, Atlantic Ocean. So we need to collaborate on security, on transportation, on urban planning, on border controls, on traffic management. Even on our rail, we want to extend into Ogun State. On our BRT, we want to extend into Ogun State because people cross border. It's like New York, New Jersey. It is borderless. So we want to, have ourselves work on
Thank you very much, Governor Sanwoolu. We also have loved to ask you, are you going to run again in 2023? With all the challenges you face.
I've got, you should be careful what job you ask for in life, So, anyway. But I've still got 700 days to go. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.